This is part 2 of a letter. It is well known that I was on 2 occasions brutally assaulted, while on another my house was sprayed with machine gun fire. Despite the government's sanctimonious assurances, there was never a serious police inquiry into the perpetrators of these attacks, and the attackers were never apprehended. In all these cases, I have reason to believe the attacks were inspired by the government. When finally I am killed, it will be the government that kills me. The irony in this is that, unknown to most of the public, Mahinda and I have been friends for more than a quarter century. Indeed, I suspect that I am one of the few people remaining who routinely address him by his first name and uses the familiar Sinhala address Oya when talking to him. Although I do not attend the meetings he periodically holds for newspaper editors, hardly a month passes when we do not meet, privately or with a few close friends present, late at night at President's house. There we swap yarns, discuss politics, and joke about the good old days. A few remarks to him would therefore be in order here. Mahinda, when you finally fought your way to the SLFP presidential nomination in 2005, nowhere were you welcomed or more warmly than in this column. Indeed, we broke with a decade of tradition by referring to you throughout your first name. So well known were your commitments to human rights and liberal values that we ushered you in like a breath of fresh air. Then, through an act of folly, you got yourself involved in the helping Hambatotta scandal. It was after a lot of soul-searching that we broke the story, at the same time urging you to return the money. By the time you did so several weeks later, a great blow had been struck to your reputation. It is one you are still trying to live down. You have told me yourself that you were not greedy for the presidency. You did not have to hanker after it. It fell into your lap. You have told me that your sons are your greatest joy and that you love spending time with them, leaving your brothers to operate the machinery of state. Now it is clear to all who will see that that machinery has operated so well that my sons and daughters do not themselves have a father. In the wake of my death, I know you will make all the usual sanctimonious noises and call upon the police to hold a swift and thorough inquiry. But like all the inquiries you have ordered in the past, nothing will come of this one too. For truth be told, we both know who will be behind my death, but dare not to call his name. Not just my life, but yours too, depends on it. Sadly, for all the dreams you had for our country in your younger days, in just 3 years you have reduced it to rubble. In the name of patriotism, you have trampled on human rights, nurtured unbridled corruption, and squandered public money like no other president before you. Indeed, your conduct has been like a small child suddenly let loose in a toy shop. That analogy is perhaps inapt, because no child could have caused so much blood to be spilled on this land as you have, or trampled on the rights of its citizen as you do. Although you are now so drunk with power that you cannot see it, you will come to regret your sons having so rich an inheritance of blood. It can only bring tragedy. As for me, it is with clear conscience that I go to meet my Maker. I wish, when your time finally comes, you could do the same. I wish. As for me, I have the satisfaction of knowing that I walk tall and bow to no man. And I have not traveled this journey alone. Fellow journalists in other branches of the media walked with me. Most of them are now dead, imprisoned without trial, or exiled in far-off lands. Others walk in the shadow of death that your presidency has cast on the freedoms for which you once fought so hard. You will never be allowed to forget that my death took place under your watch. As anguished as I know will be, I also know that you will have no choice but to protect my killers. You will see to it that the guilty one is never convicted. You have no choice. I feel sorry for you, and Shiranti will have a long time to spend on her knees when next she goes for confession, for it is not just her own sins for which she must confess, but those of her extended family that keeps you in office. As for the readers of the Sunday Leader, what can I say but thank you for supporting our mission. We have espoused unpopular causes, stood up for those too feeble to stand up for themselves, locked horns with the high and mighty so swollen with power that they have forgotten their roots, exposed corruption and the waste of your hard-earned tax rupees, and made sure that whatever the propaganda of the day, you were allowed to hear a contrary view. For this, I and my family have now paid the price that I have long known I will one day have to pay. I am, and have always been, ready for that. I have done nothing to prevent this outcome. No security, no precautions. I want my murderer to know that I am not a coward like he is, hiding behind human shields while condemning thousands of innocents to death. What am I among so many? It has long been written that my life would be taken, and by whom. All that remains to be written is when. That the Sunday Leader will continue fighting the good fight, too, is written. For I did not fight this fight alone. Many more of us have to be, and will be, killed before the leader is laid to rest. I hope my assassination will be seen not as a defeat of freedom, but an inspiration for those who survive to step up their efforts. Indeed, I hope that it will help galvanize forces that will usher in a new era of human liberty in our beloved motherland. I also hope it will open the eyes of your President to the fact that however many are slaughtered in the name of patriotism, the human spirit will endure and flourish. Not all the Rajapakses combined can kill that. People often ask me why I take such risks and tell me it is a matter of time before I am bumped off. Of course, I know that. It is inevitable. But if we do not speak out now, there will be no one left to speak out for those who cannot, whether they be ethnic minorities, the disadvantaged, or the persecuted. An example that has inspired me throughout my career in journalism has been that of the German theologian Martin Niemöller. In his youth, he was an anti-Semite and an admirer of Hitler. As Nazism took hold in Germany, however, he saw Nazism for what it was. It was not just the Jews Hitler sought to extirpate, it was just about anyone with an alternate point of view. Niemöller spoke out and for his trouble was incarcerated in the Sachsenhausen and Dachau concentration camps from 1937 to 1945 and very nearly executed. While incarcerated, Niemöller wrote a poem that from the first time I read it in my teenage years stuck hauntingly in my mind.